Welcome in, everybody. Heat Ratio Live. I'm your host, Tony Jigsaw Cotillo, joined by my man, Mikey Googs. We're going just 2 box tonight, breaking down Eagles draft. It's going to be a fun episode, man. Listen, this is what we live for every single year. Eagles draft. What's going to happen? What are we going to do? And I'll tell you what, Mike, we got a lot of things to cover because a lot of things happened. And it was like a legitimate roller coaster, up and down, right? It was unbelievable. I can't wait to talk about it because I think me and you both have a major difference of opinion here. And let's just start right off the bat. Number one, we live for this. I absolutely love that it's draft season. I love that it's over. Because again, listen, I'm drinking my Leinenkugel summer shandy, right? So that's when I break out for the nice summer weather that's upon us. But we know football season's coming, and that's the most important part. And we went into this draft with so many different questions, trying to find out what are we going to do. And number one, let me just say this. I have no idea, and I'm going to jump on a bandwagon because I heard a lot of people talking about it. I'm not going to say I came up with this topic, but I agree with them. I don't understand how you rate these drafts. How do you say, oh, that was a B, that was a B plus, that was an A? Dude, who the hell knows what this draft is going to be, right? We really don't. We have no idea. But what we can do is we can take bits and pieces and we can look at how they formulated their picks, how they read their board, how they read the other board. Now, let's go day one, right into it. I think it was an absolute genius move by Howie Roseman on the surface. Now, every squirrel finds a nut every now and then. Let's just say that. And maybe he just got lucky. I don't know. But all I'm telling you, man, is the move was legit. So let's say this. At the end of the day, you essentially took a third round pick and you got a first round pick and you got DeVonta Smith. I mean, think about that, right? So right there, you have to say, okay, I was cool. Now, what I will say, DeVonta Smith doesn't come without questions, right? Heisman Trophy winner, SEC, against major competition. I get it. But why did he slip? Why did he fall? Right? So I'm just going to leave it like that. So I'm not saying that DeVonta Smith isn't going to be the guy, but let's all pump the brakes a little bit and just say, because we don't have a great track record when it comes to wide receivers. Okay, all we got to do is say word Freddie freaking Mitchell. Okay, so I know that was a little bit further down the first round.
But what to do with Roseman? Nothing.
But again, I'm just saying, right? But
man.
All I know is
Tom Modrak.
Well, Tom Modrak, maybe. You know, good old Tom. Wish Tom Modrak was here. But speaking of Toms, okay, let's talk about our man Tom Donahoe.
Oh, you couldn't wait to get to that.
I couldn't wait
to get to that.
I couldn't, because here's the thing: we're all rah Super Bowl. Howie's back. We got DeVonta Smith. All right, now that's great. Good job, Howie. Congratulations. You got, hopefully, a receiver. I don't care what the reports say, 175 pounds. Dude's 166 pounds.
Soaking wet.
Okay? He walked down. I thought, you know what? I hope the three little pigs don't come and the big bad wolf doesn't come and blow him over. Because that dude was super skinny. Now, he went against big-time competition. I get it. But this is the NFL. Okay, so I'm just saying I have a little bit of a question mark because he dropped. Waddle went before him. Jamar Chase goes before him. It's a Heisman Trophy winner, right? We also remember another receiver who was a Heisman Trophy winner named Desmond Howard. Okay, just throwing it out there.
Digging, man. You're digging.
I am, but it's legit, right? So then we go to day two. So this is where now we're ready, man. Now we're pumped. All right, we're starting to build something here. We got the receiver. What are we going to do? We need a corner. We need a linebacker. We need let's go. And all of a sudden, Landon Dickerson gets called. Now, I'll tell you what. First thing I would say is, if healthy, the guy is an absolute monster, right? Monster. But it's not a small if, it's a huge if. And again, we fell right back into the Howie Roseman trap that says we're so good, we can waste a second friggin' round pick. Again, Sidney Jones, part two. right? And I'm not saying it's going to have the same outcome. What I'm saying is you are building a team. You need to come out with day one and day two with 3 starters. That's what you need to come out with, 3 starters. And we didn't get that. What we got was one guy who should be starting day one, and we got 2 what-ifs. That's what we got. We got a guy in the 3rd round. Okay, we got a guy in the 3rd that we traded back, right? So let's bring. We got Milton Williams from Louisiana Tech, great high motor guy with small arms. Okay, great. Another undersized defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, I think we just breed these guys. Like, do we go to the draft to say, what guy can we take that's undersized? Because that's who we're going to take. So we take Milton Williams. Great. When we trade it back and the Giants go ahead and they take the cornerback we should have took, which is why Tom Donahoe is pissed off. And for everybody out there, Mike, and I'm sorry I'm getting long-winded here, but for everybody out there that says that wasn't a big deal, has not followed Philadelphia football or sports for the last 10 years. And if you tell me, you're full of shit, because that is exactly why we've been talking so much in all season. We've heard about the dysfunction of the front office. We've heard about and that summed it up. Mike, tell me you're not watching that going, number one, makes Howie Roseman look like a buffoon, look like an idiot, complete schmuck. That's what Howie Rose would look like in that scene. And you know what? I love it was real. It was real. And again, here's the best part. Last thing I'll say. The reason why it was a mistake in the sense that it shouldn't have happened and they know it was a problem, the PR department gets an A+ because the next day, what do? They stage a rah-rah cheerleading section in the war room, okay, for a friggin' 5th round pick. Oh, look, they're all together. They're chest bumping it. Stop. Who shows the war room in round 5? Nobody. They're remote picks. Nobody even gives a shit. Okay, so that was legitimate failure right there, that thing. So my summary, Mike, before I go to you, is we came out of this draft with a lot of question marks. That's what we did. We fell right after day one. We fell right back in that Eagles trap by saying, you know what? We're just going to start drafting guys that we think we're smarter than everybody else. And you know what? Guys like I was going to call him Jay Wright. Guys like Matt Rule from Carolina just shit all over everybody again. Just showing why he is a legitimate football coach in the NFL and why the Carolina Panthers are going to be so good. Why that guy went from Temple to Baylor to the NFL, because he's a friggin' football guy. And he made football moves, and I loved every minute of it. So I'm on a side, Mike, that I am not happy because I feel like we came out of this draft with only one guy that is a legitimate starter and a whole bunch of question marks and the whole theory of, well, you know what? Next year we got 3 first-round picks. That's fantastic. I didn't know we were that good that we could just waste an entire draft. So, Mike, that's my spiel. Go ahead, brother.
I think you make a lot of good points. And there's some things that obviously I agree with and some things I disagree with. But I think on the surface, like my opinion means anything, and I've been probably one of the most critical for Howie Roseman in that whole Eagles front office. But yes, before I get into, I mean, I'm not going to go light on him ever, even when he does something right. But let me ask you this before I get into that: do you think you would have felt the same way if you didn't see the fist bump fail, the Twitter video? Do you think you would have felt the same way, or do you think you would have maybe given him the benefit of the doubt? But the fact that Donahoe did that, does that just re-solidify your thinking to saying, you know what, I know this, I know all this dysfunction is true now. You can clearly see it. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. Because I think a lot of people are thinking that. I'm just curious if, by seeing that video, did that sway you a little bit, or did it just reinforce what you were thinking? Just out of curiosity.
Not necessarily. Now before I answer, let me say, I want to get everybody checking in. Jamar, what's up, my boy Goose?
What's up, Jamar?
Mikey V checking in as always. Been waiting for this. Yeah, man. Trevor says, I give it a C. I just hate Howie.
Tell us how you really feel, Trevor.
Pretty certain. And there you go. Dan's exactly the same page as me. Pretty certain you only have one starter for this year. That's a problem. Trevor's Spike guy right here.
We get it.
Tony, it's a C draft. What else we got? If healthy, Samuel was the pick. I agree. Adam, as always, checking in. My man, what's up, buddy?
Hello.
Trevor, Tony, it's a C draft. There's no full-time starters. Plus, I want a TKO, Howie.
You and me both.
I love it. I'm glad, Vinny, my man Vinny checking in. I'm glad you mentioned that name, Vinny, because I missed the Kenneth Gaulwell pick. I'm sorry.
Okay, there it is.
Because I actually have his stats up. So because I do like that pick. I do. I don't know if he stepped in shit again, but hey, listen, 1,459 yards, 6.3 average, 13 touchdowns, 51 catches, 610 yards, and 3 that's a legitimate running back. Okay, that's a legitimate running back. 16 total touchdowns, and we've been talking how long we need a guy behind Miles Sanders, and if Miles Sanders can't go because he is not actually the epitome of health, right? So I do like that pick.
That's good depth there, man. That's good depth. I just don't think the draft is as bad as everybody thinks it is. A lot of this stuff can pan out.
You can't Dickerson there after the Sidney Jones pick.
True.
I agree.
True.
Now,
Let
me say this, Mike. Let me answer your question before you go on, just so I don't forget. So you make a good point. What I will tell you is before that even happened, soon as a draft landed Dickerson, that's when I was like, this draft is going to suck.
Okay, so who did you want at that spot?
So
because you know we need an offensive lineman. I thought they were going O-line in the first round.
Well, the problem is there were cornerbacks at that spot. There were other offensive linemen at that spot.
Okay.
To me, what you did was you took an unnecessary risk. And granted, let me tell you something. I understand you can listen to scouts all over the place tell you that this guy would be a top 10 pick if it wasn't for the injuries. Mike, this guy missed 80% of his collegiate career to 4 major injuries.
Where was he projected to go? Was he projected to go in that slot?
No, he was projected to go. They did say that he was on some boards that he would have went a little bit after. But my issue is, again, that's a pick you make when you are the defending Super Bowl champions. That's a pick you make when you're the San Francisco 49ers.
Good point.
And you're all locked up and ready to roll. Okay? You don't make that pick as the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm sorry. Because you're in a rebuilding mode right now. This guy's not going to play this year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So my thing is to and I'll come back to you'll play devil's advocate here because it's a legitimate question. Who else did you want? Honestly, I just was going by position. I wasn't going name, right? But what I will say is, do you think that the risk outweighs the reward in the sense that was that reward that much greater than drafting another guy who's a day one starter this year? Even if he doesn't have the same talent level. Like, is Landon Dickerson going to win you a Super Bowl?
But
I don't think so.
But dude, I agree with you. And trust me, I don't want to give Howie Roseman any credit whatsoever. All right. But let me just start off with this. I don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks. And the reason why is this. They're not trying to win the Super Bowl next year. They stack picks for next year. They know this dude's going to sit out. Now, look, the logical thing to say would be that, hey, they're football people. They have their own models. They know whether or not this guy is rehabable, right? We can make all those assumptions that have been proven time and time again wrong because they just screw up a lot, especially in the first round. Okay, so we want to be able to say that. And can we say that they finally got their act together? Who knows? The question is, nobody knows anything. And when you look at the draft, it's always a year after or 2 years after, or even 3. You look at the draft and you realize, I mean, you just write some notes down or whatever. We'll go back and watch this a year or 2 from now. And everybody that we thought was going to wind up being great, I mean, it's the percentages, man. Some of them don't turn out to be anything. Some of them are bust. We all know that. So we just have to hope that what they're doing is they're drafting for a 2 to 3 year rebuild here. Okay? Because if that's the case and Dickerson sits out and the guy does get healthy and we got tremendous value, he could be serviceable for quite some time. Because I think he knows that the way to win a Super Bowl is you got to fix the offensive line. You got to fix the defensive line. I mean, everybody keeps saying corners, and I don't necessarily disagree with corners, okay? But we all know that if you don't get any pressure on the cornerback if you don't get any pressure on the quarterback's on a freaking island. He just gets exposed all day long. I don't care how good he is. If there's no pressure, it doesn't matter how good you are. We all know that. So when I looked at it, I just saw that the guy tried to address positions based on what we need. And he stockpiled picks to boot. I mean, you get the Dolphins first rounder next year, okay? If Wentz stays healthy, and look, who knows if he does or not, but if he plays 75% of the snaps, I mean, that's no guarantee either, but, he does have a good chance to do that. You're going to get the Colts first rounder. I mean, yeah, Dallas may fleece him because that's the cost of doing business to step up, but they blocked Smith from going to the Giants. Yeah, they gave up a third, but that's why you stockpile picks in order to make moves. So I don't know, man. I mean, the comment before was that Gainwell could be an X factor. That guy like that turns good. Dickerson pans out. The draft turns to be okay. You got some other people in there that may turn out. You got Jacoby Stevens in there as a late rounder. There's some real good stuff about him. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think it's as bad as everybody thinks it is because I don't think that they're picking for next year. I think they're picking for 2 or 3 years. I think seeing this entire new roster, it's all full of young guys. It's all full of promise. You got a young coach. There's so many unknowns, okay? There's so many unknowns. It's not Peterson. It's not the same old stuff. It's not the same old Wentz. Is Wentz going to get hurt? All that bullshit. It's none of that. It's completely new. So as much as I hate to give Howie Roseman and the Eagles any credit, because we all know how dysfunctional that organization is, and to go even further on what you said, that fist bump, that just solidifies what everybody was thinking. And that's the reason why I asked that question, because that they don't get along with this guy. No. He's a proxy for Lurie. We know. We're not stupid, okay? Our fans know the game. We know what's going on. We can see through smoke shows, and you're right. That presser that they threw together, they only did it because they forgot that there was a live stream and all that was caught. So honestly, if I have anything to say about it, I think Donohue was very disrespectful. He should have. That dumbass didn't remember that it was streaming. He didn't realize that it was live. He probably forgot. He's not supposed to be representing the Eagles like that. Why show that?
Mikey, good. What? Dude,
I didn't like it. I thought it was disrespectful. I can't stand that guy anyway. And trust me, I just felt, I don't know, maybe I felt bad for Roseman because he looked like he was 5'1" and next to everybody. This little shrimp walking around trying to get fist bumps. I felt bad for the guy. I don't know.
Dude, listen.
I'm just feeling generous tonight, okay?
It must be the tequila you're drinking because it must be word up Michael Jordan right there. MJ,
Michael Jordan's brand. I'm not getting paid to plug this, but Michael Jordan should be, sending some sponsorship money over to the Heat Ratio. You know what I mean? Because this new stuff, this Sincoro tequila, it's pretty amazing. But
I'm shocked. You know why? Because I loved it because it was real. It wasn't staged, and it wasn't just Tom Donahoe. Okay, it was right.
But you loved it because it proved everything that we're saying. It made you feel good. It's like when you buy a new car and you see an advertisement for the car on the billboard that you drive by. You're like, yeah, I got that car. It makes you feel good. Yep. It's social proofing that whatever you're saying is right. That's the same thing because we've been sitting here bitching about Roseman now for how long and bitching about the organization, and we saw it.
I know.
But I know Jeffrey Lurie ripped him because that embarrassed the brand. That embarrassed everything. It put for anybody that had any question of whether or not Roseman is respected in the office, just watch that video because he clearly isn't. And now we know the dude's a complete proxy for Jeffrey Lurie, or Lurie's just holding him on because he feels bad or whatever the story is. But it's clear that he doesn't get any respect.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean,
without a doubt.
We don't need to speculate anymore. We saw what happened, but I thought it was disrespectful for Donohue. I really did, or Donohue, however you say his name, idiot.
So Brian's kind of he's emulating what you're talking about here when he says how we already acknowledged that Dickerson and Williams will lean behind. And I understand. I get it. No. I get it. I just there were more pressing needs, in my opinion, at that spot.
And you're right. You're probably right, man. You're probably right.
How Vinny treats second round pick. Vinny,
exactly.
That's so true, man. It's so true that he completely disrespects the second round.
What's an NBA second round pick? What is
trash?
Garbage.
Yeah, it's an afterthought. It's an afterthought. Dan checking it says even Bama's Barmore. Yeah, again, I agree. There's your Mike. You said about pass rush. There's your defensive tackle sitting right there, right? Sitting right there. Asante Samuel Jr., Trevor says. There was another guy.
Yeah, everybody talks about him. I'm super curious about him. I'd like to revisit that in a year to see exactly how well he does. He has like, for some reason, I just feel like he's like one of those guys that's like super hyped in the draft and just turns out to just not be what we thought he was. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, listen, there were some people that did say that. There's some skeptics out there, right? But I look at the one thing that you cannot create and you cannot fabricate is a pedigree. And when you come from right, you come from the lineage of Asante Samuel, for my money, one of the best corners I've ever seen play, in the sense that I don't want to hear about tackling. I want to hear about that first step, that instinct, right?
Because in fact, but that's not what he did.
Right, exactly. And we all know that, right?
Deion Sanders didn't tackle either.
What's that?
Deion Sanders didn't tackle much either.
It's not prime time. He didn't want to get hurt. Right? I mean, let's face it. The corners, listen, the corners that were speed corners are not going to be tackle guys, man.
The running back shouldn't even be in the secondary for them to make tackles.
Exactly.
Nobody ever wants to talk about that. But anyway, I agree with you. Pedigree's pedigree, right? For sure. We know all that. And he's probably going to be a very good corner. But for whatever reason, I don't know. I just feel like he's going to be not a bust, but just not as good as everybody thinks he is. The Eagles brand is down the toilet. The Eagles brand has been in the toilet bowl, Trevor, since the Super Bowl, since all this crap happened, since they got rid of Foles, since the downfall of Wentz. It's just the same shit. Mikey G, you could take a lineman, just a healthy one. It's not that hard. Agreed. Good thing that they don't have us in the front office. That's for sure, Vinny. Yeah. The Dolphins are going to be in the mid-teen or early 20s. Yep.
So that's a good one. So my man Rich checking in. He said, what were your thoughts on the Giants not getting Devonta Smith as the Eagles moved up, setting up their apple cart? So that's a great one, Rich, because we're going to play a video right now, which I love. It's a 2-minute video.
Oh, I've seen it. I know which one you're talking about now.
You know what I'm saying, right?
I watched it a few times. Yeah,
this is classic. And this is what I was so high on that night, because I'm like, all right, here we go. So watch this, pretty interesting.
Devonta Smith is there. Like, I feel like you got to take. I feel like you got to. Like, if they don't take it, if the Giants don't take Smith, I think the Eagles will. Wait a minute, Eagles are on the clock. The are they doing? The just happened? Why did the Cowboys and Eagles just trade? Oh, fucking God. They're going to get Smith. They're going to get Smith here. The are you doing, Jerry? They have to, right? The Eagles were scared to death that the Giants were going to take Smith. Oh, my gosh. I can't. I just can't. No! I swear to you. And you got the Cowboys and Eagles pairing up, tag teaming against the Giants. We got Nick DeWitt corresponding here from LPG's party. What's up, Nick?
We are living out here, man.
Hey, what the are the Eagles going to do? What are the Eagles going to do?
They're taking Smith.
Wait, that's not good.
I know it's not good. We're all mad.
What are they going to do? I hate this team. They're always with us. That's all they do is they with the Giants. They don't want us to make the playoffs. They just with us. Why can't they just leave us alone? Please don't be Devontae. Give the Giants a chance to get Devontae Smith. Give us a chance. Let us pass up on him. Don't take him from us. Here it is. Do something stupid. Don't do anything smart. Yeah! No! God, I hate this fucking team. I was warming up to the idea of Devonta Smith, like, ooh, this is going to be great, a Heisman player, and he ends up on the Eagles. Thanks to the Cowboys. Them. You hear me? The Eagles.
Yeah. Let me tell you, man. That courtesy of my man Iraq. He, as always, finding the videos and posting them up. He is the man. And I'll tell you, man, that was great.
That was great. Yeah. I mean, who do you think he hates more, the Dallas or the Eagles?
That's what I was going to ask. That's a great point.
Figure it out.
Yeah, it's like, but who would have thought? Like how he calls Jerry, like, let's, can we screw the Cal? Can we screw the Giants?
Yeah, for sure.
Because, dude, they can't stand Joe Judge.
Obviously,
you know that they can't stand Joe Judge. But listen, again, just to recap about Devontae Smith. I don't want anybody. Listen, the highlight reel is ridiculous. There was also an undersized receiver that we drafted from California named Deshaun Jackson a long time ago.
Oh yeah,
right. And when he was healthy, he was unstoppable. So
he was.
Right.
Yes.
And he even played in the day, like when he was first drafted, where you actually could bump and run as a corner. They took all that out of football now. Right. So but here's what I will say. If he has that camaraderie and relationship with Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts, say what you want, the guy is very powerful. He is a deadlifter. This dude is legitimate.
Yeah, he's a monster.
Right?
Dude's a monster. Monster.
Yes, he's a monster. So, that's going to be his workout boy, man. You know that. He's going to put on some weight, right? I'm telling you, I think he will. I think he'll put on some weight. But my whole thing is, Mike, there's just too many questions for me. Let's see how it plays out. Obviously, we don't know. The good thing is, like you said, we already know we're not making the Super Bowl. We're not making a playoffs. Right? We already know that.
We're playing with the house money. We got a bunch of young kids now with a young coach who seems obviously very excited to start. He's very positive. Man, it's a rebrand of the Eagles. The problem is when you scrape it down and, the same dirt is in the middle with Roseman and friggin' Lurie. Okay. But end of the day, they're calling the shots. And they broke the whole thing down. They got rid of everybody and they completely changed the nucleus. So, they kept some veterans in there. I mean, let's see. I don't want to sound overly optimistic, but I am intrigued on this team that's getting ready to go on the field. I mean, it just looks like there's so many possibilities. And look, at the end of the day, if they're garbage, we can all say that, we saw this coming. We all knew that they were garbage. How could you not see this with Sirianni? I mean, yeah, his press conference when he was first introduced to the team, I just couldn't even watch it. It just seems so bizarre. Like everything that happened to the Eagles this year has been completely bizarre. But the first round of the draft turned out to be really cool, man. We got an amazing player. And yeah, there's a lot of what ifs. But sure, they're going to put some pounds on the guy. You got Alabama squad. Alabama North is playing for the Eagles right now. This is the best damn program in college football. You got 3 really unbelievable players from there. What else do you want? I don't know, man. They fleeced the Giants. They picked up, that trade from the Skins. I guess Donahue didn't like Milton Williams, but Dickerson, if he pans out, could be really great. Yeah, I get it. We shouldn't take a chance at number 2. But when you really look outside, don't give me Miles Sanders or Dallas Goedert. Just name a number 2 pick that panned out in the last 10 years. They all sucked. Okay, all of them. They all sucked. Okay, at least this guy, there is a chance that he could be really good. Okay. They all suck because none of them were good. And if he sucks, then we can just say that he's just part of that second round pick that just sucks. But at least we got something right on the first. And who knows? What if the first doesn't pan out? What if this kid is a flake and he gets hurt constantly, or anything can happen in football? I will say though, I will say this, and I'll leave this as a final thought. This draft and what we think of it is probably going to be very different after next season. I would say that there's some diamonds in the rough in there, and some of the guys perhaps that we thought weren't going to pan out are going to do okay, and maybe we may be a little bit overly optimistic with Smith. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
If you don't have a torn ACL or Achilles, the Eagles won't even look at you in the second round.
Yeah, I think you should try to. Maybe Vinny. Maybe that's a good point. Maybe what they do is they bring up the draft board and they filter by ACL injuries or Achilles. And then maybe they just draft according to anybody that has a tender ACL or is on the verge of, maybe just an MCL, something like that. But yeah, you're right. You're right. They love drafting players like that. None of them ever pan out.
I want to get into some other teams. Mike, I want to ask you about a couple players that went. But before I do that, you mentioned Jalen Hurts. And,
I did.
Right? And I'm glad you did, because I'll tell you talked about Tom Donahoe. So every now and then, and I'm not afraid to say that I listen to everything, right? So me and Mike go way back. And number one, let me give a shout out to Howard Eskin for turning 70 years old. Say what you want about the Chief. Say what you want about the guy. You love him, you hate him, doesn't matter. 70 years old and still looks good and still on the airwaves, Mike. Still out there hustling, right? So listen, for all the people that can't stand him, you got to respect him, right? I say that stuff all the time. You may not like the guy. You may not like Angelo Cataldi, but guess what? He's still there. Still there. Doesn't matter. Now, the reason why I bring him up is because me and Mike talk for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. We go back, and we've always talked about sports radio, and Mike knows one of my guys I like to listen to is Mike Missanelli. So I've always liked Mike Missanelli. I like the guy. I like his viewpoints. I like the way he runs a show. Now, the other day, he had Terry Bradshaw on. And Mike, I got to read this to you because I don't know if you heard about this.
No, I have not.
This was an off-the-cuff, shocking revelation of Jalen Hurts. So they had Terry Bradshaw on to pump out his new whiskey. So Terry Bradshaw is making his own whiskey, right?
Nice.
So they just throw him a little softball question, right? What about the draft? This, that, and they ask him. They just said, hey, you know what, Terry, as a Hall of Fame quarterback, we love to, obviously you see what happened to Wentz, and I'm going to get the Aaron Rodgers thing a little bit later too. And he says, they say, what, we're looking at Jalen Hurts. I know small sample size. What's your overall opinion of Jalen Hurts? So I got to read this. And Mike, this is not ad lib. I listened to it live. Okay. So it's, this is so funny.
Okay.
So Hall of Fame quarterback Terry Bradshaw recently appeared in 97.5 Fanatic, yada, 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 to discuss Hurts' uncertain future in Philadelphia. His answers were brutally honest as he rattled off Hurts' many weaknesses before declaring that he was absolutely not a franchise quarterback. So this is what he says. I do not know if that's your quarterback, Bradshaw said of Hurts. We don't know who they are right now. I don't. I really don't. I'm just as confused as everybody else in Philadelphia and really figure out who the hell they really are. Bradshaw's opinion, not the be-all, end-all argument by any stretch of the imagination. However, it's a tad alarming to hear a four-time Super Bowl champion deliver such a bleak outlook. This is what he shared. When asked about Jalen Hurts, I see a guy that is extremely athletic, which is what the position now requires. We're moving that direction. Well, we've moved to that direction already. I just don't see a polished quarterback. I don't see a polished guy that can stand back there and snap that bad boy off. I don't see that at all. I just see a really good college quarterback who left Alabama and then went to Oklahoma, who can run like crazy, who is strong, his passing motion is not the best in the world. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to turn the TV on to watch Jalen Hurts play football. When asked if Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback, Terry Bradshaw said, no, absolutely not. Now, I'll tell you, Mike, here's the funny part about
this.
What
the hell?
Right. This was not, nobody knew. Like, they just thought he was going to give him like a snowball answer. Like, he's good. No, he was legit. They asked him before he gave all those answers. That article's a little different than what I heard. The first thing they answered was, "What do you think about Jalen Hurts? Is he a franchise quarterback?" No, absolutely not. That's what he said. They didn't have to think about it. Like, it's like boom. I was like, wow. Like, and then he went on. This is a Hall of Fame quarterback, Mike.
Yeah, but let's try to read between the lines a little bit.
Okay. Help me out.
My guess would be, now look, again, we're going to get a Hall of Fame quarterback analyst. You know, he obviously knows way more than Mikey friggin' Googs. That's for sure. Okay. It's just as a little disclaimer. But if I had to guess, I would say that he probably doesn't like Roseman. He probably doesn't like Lurie, and he probably doesn't like the way they did Wentz. And he just throwing the kid.
Just so you know, he buried Wentz too.
Oh, did he really?
Yes. Yes.
Well, again, that throws the Mikey Googs theory out the window.
I'm sorry, I should have told you that. Yeah, he buried Wentz too.
I didn't know that. Maybe it just hasn't. Well, didn't he bury Rodgers today too?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
What's he? He's getting like to be. Maybe he's just a cranky old guy, dude. You know, maybe that's what it is.
Maybe it's. You know what, Mike? It could be just he's old school, right? He comes from that old school mentality.
Yeah, but why destroy Jalen Hurts for what? Maybe there's something personal there. Maybe Hurts gave him the finger or something. It was something we don't know about. I mean,
I don't know.
Why would he come out and do that? Why would he unload on the kid? Unless that there's something there, or unless he just doesn't think that the Eagles made a right decision.
Yo, Adam says he met Howard Eskin at Flowers Carnival. Hey, Adam, was he wearing the mink? Was he wearing that mink coat?
You know, it's funny, when I was at the Eagles charity event in Atlantic City, they didn't do it last year. They did it 2 years ago. And Eskin was sitting there, and he was just looking at the, they had the big auction that they were auctioning off all the gifts. And he was just walking around on the tables looking at what they were giving away. And I was just standing there, and here he comes. He looks up to me. He's like, "You bidding on any of this stuff?" And I said, I don't think so. King of Bling. He started laughing. Remember that nickname that he had?
King of Bling.
The King of Bling. Actually, I wound up talking to him for quite some time. He's a really, really nice guy. He's a complete ass on the air. Everybody loved to hate him, especially when it was on, WIP during that afternoon slot, 4 to 6 or whatever. Remember that? I used to love listening to Eskin then.
Oh, yeah.
You used to just hang up on people. You dope, you idiot. He was great. He was perfect for Philly.
He'd be like, "Yo, genius. Go ahead, genius. What do you got?"
Listen up, genius. Yeah, okay. Listen to this idiot. Listen to this moron. It was fantastic. But tell you what, and I know that they always said that he was an Eagles mouthpiece. He would always pick up for Andy Reid. We know all that. But, he always got the dirt because he was the first one to break all the really good news out of Philly. And he's the one that... Was he the one that broke the Terrell Owens story?
Yeah, he was.
When T.O. signed? So he would get all the good stuff from the Eagles, but he never buried them. But he did. Used to bury the Phillies all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he couldn't stand the Phillies.
He couldn't stand the Phillies. Still can't stand the Phillies. He couldn't stand Gabe Kapler.
Couldn't stand the Sixers either.
Yeah, he wasn't a big Sixers guy either.
Oh, you were just mentioning. Before we get into Gabe, Brian checks in, says, Hurts, while being a good leader that we hear about in the locker room, there's far too many flaws in his game. His legs are the only thing he and we could depend on. Interesting viewpoint, right? Because he also goes on to say, I'm not saying he can't be a franchise guy. I just don't see it personally. I'm not on board, but I sure hope he lives up basically to the hype. Now, Brian, what I will say is, listen, we all are not sitting here saying he's going to be the most accurate quarterback in the world. I think we all agree on that. But what I can tell you is I looked at a guy in Tua last year who really struggled. A kid who may have looked like he may not be able to play quarterback in the NFL. I do not see that in Jalen Hurts. Now, do I think Jalen Hurts is going to be a Hall of Fame NFL Super Bowl winning quarterback? No. Odds are probably stacked against that. But I think he is serviceable enough to win football games in this league because of what you say. He does have the legs, but he's just not a running quarterback, right? He's just not so his legs allow him to basically escape the pocket, right? Take the pressure off, and he has a pretty strong arm that he could throw on the run. I mean, listen, we watched the guy, if I will always love you, say what you want, but Donovan McNabb, who could throw as far as anybody on the run. So, he kind of reminds me of Donovan a little bit because he's a bigger, even though he's smaller in height, he's a very strong guy. And Mike, Donovan was a very strong guy. Even though he was mobile, he wasn't going to run a 4.4, but he was quick enough and strong enough to get away. And I think that's what we have in Jalen Hurts.
Donovan was also the kind of guy that wouldn't take chances. He wouldn't force balls in there. Remember his his interception ratio was super low. It was always like one of the lowest in the league, right?
Yep.
Because
He was very good at not turning the ball over.
He didn't turn the ball over, but then again, maybe he just didn't trust the receivers that he was throwing it to because he was throwing it to friggin' Todd Stinkston and the James Trash and those other guys. So maybe he just didn't realize he just didn't feel like he had a receiver out there that he could throw the ball up to. He did throw the ball up to T.O., and you saw when you had a caliber of receiver like T.O., what T.O. and McNabb were. I don't even want to go down that because it hurts me to even think about the possibilities of what could have been there. But I do agree with you. Hurts sort of feels like a McNabb-esque type of quarterback. Look, we don't know what he's going to do. All right. I mean, Howie, and they drafted him pretty high. And I know they were trying to throw around comparisons to Russell Wilson. I have absolutely no idea what that means or if there's any validity to that whatsoever. But I think that when they asked Howie that why he drafted him, and don't quote me on this, but I think he said something like, he didn't want to get caught with another missing out on the next Russell Wilson. So look, who knows? Who knows what we have right now? We don't know what we have, but I think that they're gonna show us some things that they're gonna show us some things that we're gonna have a lot of excitement about. I really do. I think something's gonna come out of that. There's a bunch of young kids and they all can play at a certain point. They're good. We just don't know how good they are. We don't know how well they're going to adapt to the NFL. I know there's not a lot of film on Hurts. I know all that. I mean, we all know that, right? We know that his strong points are his legs, but he has a year under him. He got some time. He got some clock. Maybe he's got some different coaching around him now. There's no Press Taylor feeding bullshit into his ear. Maybe he's going to get some good direction. I mean, look, I'm usually very pessimistic when it comes to the Eagles, but I don't know. For some reason, I got this feeling that I think that they have a start of something here. I don't know why I'm feeling like
Mikey Goose has got the feeling. That get that feeling right here. This is a good question. Rich checking in says, remember Bradshaw's backup?
Who the hell was that?
I'm Rich. If you're still tuning in, let me know, man.
Somebody tell us who that is.
Yeah, I don't go back that far. Now, what I will say is, Rich also asked, which I think is a good question because I wanted to bring this up a little bit. He wants to know his thoughts on Bears getting Justin Fields. So,
like it.
Dan Green second and says Stout. So I guess that Mr. Stout's the backup. Dan Stout,
Mr. Stout,
Mr. Stout. You like that? I had to do Mr. Stout so I could figure out the name because I forget.
Mr. Stout, you're up.
You're on deck.
Harry got hurt. You're up.
Now, Brian says the name Press Tower is almost as bad as Cork Maz for me. Like nails on a chalkboard. Yeah, you're Brian. I completely agree with you, man. Like,
I wonder where he is. Did he get picked up?
We talk about it all the time, right? If there he is right there. So I don't know where he's at right now, but again, I mean, these are the images that we had. These are the prior images that we have in the war. Look at the two in the war room. That's not what we've seen, right? That's not what we've seen. So, but the name Press Tower is almost as bad as Cork Maz. I like that. That's pretty good. I actually say it was Cliff. So Dan's Cliff Stout. Interesting. But to get back to Justin Fields, I think that's a very good pick for the Chicago Bears and one that could possibly save Ryan Pace's job. Right? So, well, I'll tell you what else could save Ryan Pace's job is if, and I hate to say this, Deshaun Watson gets convicted of any kind of crime, because then Ryan Pace could put that in his back pocket and say, we would have drafted him. Look what happened. Like, even though I missed, well, guess what? Everybody missed now, right? So I honestly, Mike, personally thought Justin Fields was the number 2 quarterback in this draft. I really do. I like what he brings to the table. I think he comes from a very good collegiate program, obviously, in Ohio State. He showed that he could throw the ball down the field with ease. He's mobile. Now your boy, I know it's your boy. He's coming in already. Mike Bell says he will be a bust, named the last successful Ohio State quarterback in the NFL. And see what I have a problem with that is everybody sticks to that narrative all the time. Everybody, listen, not everybody's Mark Sanchez and Matt Barkley from USC. We need to stop with that narrative, because every now and then listen, there's a reason why these kids get drafted. Okay. There's a reason why. You can say bust all you want, but you got to look at the eye test that the kid can play football. And this kid can play football. And now he comes in Chicago with a chip on his shoulder to say, I know I should have went before guys like Mac Jones and Trey Lance, right? Or I'm sorry, not Mac Jones, but Trey Lance. I should have went before Trey Lance. He's saying that in his mind, right? I should have went before. For me, Zach Wilson is going to be the bust of this draft. Okay, I mean, Mike, I respect your opinion. You're talking about last Ohio State quarterback. Name me the last successful BYU quarterback, right? He went number 2. So
who was before him?
What?
Who
From BYU?
Yeah, the last one before him.
Was it Tim Couch? Was Tim Couch BYU? I don't even know.
He looks like he should have been from BYU.
Right? Oh, wait.
That wasn't Tim Couch. It was Ty Detmer. No,
I was on the right path there.
I was really going to say that, but I'm like, it cannot have been Ty Detmer.
But I do know that there was one quarterback who came out of there a long time ago named Steve Young, right? But again, Couch was Kentucky. Oh, look, Dan says Steve Young too. So yeah, so Ty Detmer, Tim Couch. What's the difference, right? But
Troy Detmer.
With the shake, rattle, and roll. But Fields is going to be good with Nagy. Vinny says Nagy had to scale back his offense because of poor quarterback play.
Yeah, it's called
I
the
actually agree with
factor. Yeah, of course.
I do. I agree with that. And listen, they got a really good receiving core out there, right? They really do. They really do. They got a good running back in David Montgomery. They got Tariq Cohen coming back.
Oh yeah, they look good. They had a good draft too.
Yeah, so I like what the Bears did. I like Justin Fields. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here a little bit because
go ahead.
I really like what Cincinnati did. Now, the day before the draft, when I was making a little radio tour and people were asking me what I thought was going to happen with the Eagles, because obviously they bring the Philly guy on to talk about the Philly narrative. So I said, everybody was talking about, San Francisco. No. I said, the Philadelphia pick completely depends on what Cincinnati does at 5. So in my opinion, I said, everybody has them taking Penny Sewell because for the offensive line to protect Joe Burrow. But how do you pass up Jamar Chase, who is Joe Burrow's main guy from LSU? I said, if they take a receiver right there, that's going to push Penny Sewell back in the draft, which is going to allow the Eagles to make a move for either a receiver or offensive lineman. And what happened? Matt Rule comes up at Carolina and takes J.C. Horn. And everybody's like, whoa, what happened here? I cannot believe they took a corner. And then what happens? Denver takes a corner at 9 in Surtain. So it played exactly the way for the Eagles to jump up and get Devonta Smith. But I'm just saying that Cincinnati pick changed the draft. It really did.
Yeah, but he read the board well.
He did. I will give that to him.
Yeah.
Yep. It did. And I'll tell you what, Dan checking in with a great, because that's the first thing I was thinking, even from a fantasy perspective. Man, I'll tell you, Joe Burrow gets healthy. Look at that trio of receivers he has to throw to. Jamar Chase, Ty Higgins, and Boyd. Oh, God.
It's a big if. It was a bad
that's a really good supporting cast, right? So, yeah, I think Cincinnati did well.
Let me ask you a really question before you go on to another team. What do you think about a good friend of mine? His name is David. He may be listening. He may not be. I don't know. But what did you think about? He's a big Dolphins fan. What did you think about Jalen Waddle at that spot?
I think it was a brilliant pick.
Interesting.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay, go.
So we just talked about Jalen Hurts a little while ago being better than Tua. Well, Tua's biggest issue last year was getting the ball down the field to a guy named Devontae Parker, who's their big play wide receiver. They also have Mike Gesicki from Penn State's own, big tight end, big guy, goes long, right, get on the ball. Tua was not ready to play that style of offense. So what they did, not only did they get him a counterpart that he played with already, but they got him a guy who's a bust and run guy, a guy that can take a 5-yard out 50 yards, a guy that can take a 2-yard slant to the house, a la Tyreek Hill. So now you have a receiver in Tua to give him that confidence to go 2-3 yards deep. Mike, you know the hot read like anybody, right? So now you get Tua, hot read right, hot read skinny post, hot read slant. There's your man Waddle. So now what does that do? That gives them confidence, and that kind of sets themselves like, okay, you know what? That gives them some time. Now, Mike Bell, and they signed Will Fuller. I'm glad you mentioned that because I completely forgot about that. They signed Will Fuller from Houston, which is another big-time guy. So now you go Devontae Parker and Will Fuller, which even makes my point even better because you have two guys that go straight, run the Y, straight to the end zone. Now you're going to have Jaylen Waddle all day. And to prove my point, if you go back and you look, there was a guy named Jeremy Grant that was the fourth receiver on Miami who actually was very fantasy worthy and rostered because Tua threw the ball short. So when Tua was in, when Fitzpatrick was in, Jeremy Grant was an afterthought. When Fitzpatrick went out and Tua came in, Jeremy Grant became a fixture of the offense. Why? Because he went across the middle, and it was a great safety valve for Tua. So I thought the Waddle pick was extremely brilliant. I think it's going to help his development tremendously.
Agreed.
So was your boy like the Waddle pick, or he didn't like the Waddle pick?
I'm not sure. I don't know where he feels about that pick. He seemed pretty excited about it, but and then I read that people thought maybe they reached a little bit far, But to me, I don't really look at that. I mean, even if it's like 3 or 4 spots, you want to call it a reach. I filled my spot. I filled what I wanted to fill. Yeah, I never really played that role, even with fantasy. I never really said, well, look, it was a reach and you could have got more value. Yeah, okay, that's true. But if you're drafting for, to fill holes or to fill depth, then if you filled your spot, does it really matter if it was, 3 or 4 spots early? I don't think so. Maybe
I don't think so either.
Maybe, but I don't know.
I think it's really overrated. I think it's a great point because, especially in this draft, when you're talking about essentially, we knew there was 3 wide receivers, right? All we heard was Jamar Chase, we heard Waddle, we heard Smith. So essentially, you go 5 in Jamar Chase, right? You go 4. Well, it went. 4 was Kyle Pitts, which I think was a really good pick for Atlanta. That kid's an absolute stud. Philly owned again, right? So then you go 5 Jamar Chase, you go 6 Waddle, and then you go 10 Devonta Smith. Like you said, you're talking about the difference of 1 to 2 to 3 picks. All 3 of those receivers went in the same realm. So you pick whatever guy is conducive to what you do on offense. That's what you do, and that's what they did.
It's tier-based drafting, man. I mean, it depends. You have all 3 of those receivers. Maybe Chase is in a different tier because, we all know what the support is for Chase, him being a generational player and everything else. So maybe you put him in a little bit of an upper tier. But if you got one of the 2, which I thought the Eagles had a really good chance of walking away with either one of them, I would have been super happy with that. But honestly, you know what? I just thought for some reason, and I don't know why, but I just thought that they were going to do well, I mean, I don't know why. We know why because of what they do every year. They always do something crazy and they do something that you don't expect. But for whatever reason, man, and when that pick was coming up on the board, I just thought, you know what? Are they going to draft a quarterback? Are they going to go for Justin Fields? Because we heard all that crap earlier, right, about them being interested in Zach Wilson.
I know.
So it was like the perfect setup for them to just completely throw a fly in the ointment and go and draft a quarterback. Could you imagine if they would have done that? You're telling me that that's not a Howie move?
Oh no, you're listen, there was a lot of whispers that could have been an option, right? So, and I'll tell you what, let's call it elephant in the room. But before we go, Brian, my man, thanks as always for checking in. 3:30 a.m.
Thank you, sir.
Is pretty early, bro. So I
got to get rest.
Yeah, get some rest. And hey, man, don't forget to come back and watch it on replay. But we appreciate you checking in. So what I will say, Mike, is let me ask you this, because I heard this. Glad you brought that up because we heard this going into the draft. So you're a general manager and you have a guy in Jalen Hurts. You listen, you mentioned the comment about Russell Wilson. I'll bring up the comment where they, from Ray Didinger that says, listen, they took him as a backup quarterback and they took him early, far too early, he thought, but they were specific to say they took him as a backup, right? So if that's the case and you sit there and you look at Josh, or I keep saying Josh, if you look at Justin Fields, and you think he's a better established quarterback than Jalen Hurts, isn't your job to take him then?
I guess
right?
so.
I mean, so you got to think of so my point is, would you do it?
Well, maybe, but maybe they're playing the long game. Maybe they're saying this is a 2 to 3 year plan. Let's just leave Hurts in there. Let's see what he has. Maybe the kid will show us that he's got some really magic and he can turn into a viable starter in the league. Maybe they're looking at it saying this is a 2 to 3 year plan. Okay. Or maybe they just know they're going to suck next year and they can just go get a quarterback next year. And they're building out the rest of the nucleus. That's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like they're trying to do.
Let me just say this. There's no way in hell that Jalen Hurts is going to be a turd. Okay?
What the hell was that Bradshaw thing about? What was that?
I don't know, but my thing is, listen, Terry Bradshaw's getting a little long in the tooth. Okay? He is. I like Terry. I respect Terry. But remember when Boomer was getting a little long in the tooth? When Chris Berman, right? He would come on air, look like he was hammered, right? Like, it's like, yo, Chris, might be time to hang it up, bro. You know what I mean? So, like, I think Terry
is that where we are with him?
The pre-games.
Yeah, he looks like he just rolled out of bed, dude.
Right.
He looks like disheveled.
And like sometimes when they go a little long and they think they went to commercial break, looks like Terry needs a teleprompter to let him know where to look at. Like, he looks lost.
He might be smelling. He probably smells like booze and shit too. Yeah. Get near him and cigarettes.
He could have been whiskeyed up, bro.
Maybe I don't know. Yeah, he's smoking cigarettes in the back,
but he was adamant though, man. But he was like, no. It's like, wow. But my point is, to get back to what I'm saying about Hurts, is this kid, and I mentioned this before, he has faced his adversity his entire career.
Yes.
He is the consummate professional, and he is so prideful in himself that he will not allow himself to fail. Now, does failing mean he'll be a franchise quarterback? No. But there's no way he comes in and just stinks up the joint. He's not going to do it. He's going to be good. The question is, what everybody needs to start asking is not, is he going to be good? Is he going to be great? And I think that's right. I think that's what we need to start looking at.
Do we need him to be great?
And that's another good question. Do we? Listen.
What kind of offense is Sirianni putting in there? Do we need?
Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it all comes down to that, Mike.
Well, it comes down to a killer defense, too, if you're going to start throwing Trent Dilfer out there.
Right.
But what kind of offense is he running? Do you know his package?
No,
I don't even know what he's doing. Yeah, me neither. I don't know what he's running. Oh, by the way, I looked up Press Taylor. Did you know that the Colts picked him up as an offensive assistant?
Yeah, another Frank Reich connection.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I thought maybe he'd be like a consultant for like Cinnabon or something. But
yeah. He's working at Sizzler.
Yeah, well, you know, like a production consultant. Anyway, so he got picked up by the Colts. Yeah, dude, I just can't. And you know what that is, bro? You know what that is? There's no bad teammates, man. There's no bad football players, just bad leaders.
True.
When the organization falls apart, man, you look at the leadership. It's not easy to run an organization. It's tough. It's tough to put the right people in. It's tough to get them all to jive. I told you this many times. We've talked about this many times before. You get 57 millionaires that have their ass kicked their entire life from when they were in grade school. You know how difficult it is to get these people to all march toward the same. How are you going to tell them anything? Yeah, 21 years old. Did you want to hear anything? You thought you knew everything about the world, and you realize years later you didn't know jack shit. Try telling me something. I got $50 million in the bank. And I'm looking at you looking like Terry Bradshaw and stinking like Jameson and smelling like cigars. And they're probably just looking at looking at this guy.
Press Popeye's new assistant.
Yeah, exactly. On Grand Avenue. He looks like he should be selling milkshakes to In-N-Out Burger.
Flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Nothing wrong with that. We love burger flippers, but this guy's a milkshake snake oil salesman or something, because I don't know how the frig he got another job in the NFL. How could this guy get a job in the NFL? I mean, geez, our callers and our guests, they're much more intelligent than this guy. And how come they're not running front offices? The comments that we get on the show are super intelligent from people that really know the game. And you got a guy like Press Taylor and Mess Taylor. Sorry, correction, Vinny. Thank you for that. You got a guy like Mess Taylor. By the way, his name from now on is friggin' Mess Taylor.
I love that. I love
Mess Taylor gets another job. Well, yeah, obviously it's connections with Frank Reich, but this guy was terrible. He was terrible.
He was.
They're going to hire Peterson next,
Well,
which I like Peterson.
Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that could be the elephant in the room with the Jalen Hurts stuff with Terry Bradshaw, because he was highly pissed off that they fired Doug Peterson. So he was not happy that they fired Doug.
I said, well, why throw Jalen Hurts in the crosshairs? I mean, you could have said, if you really wanted to get your point across, if you were pissed off at the Eagles organization, you know what you could have said? You could have said, you know what? I feel really bad for Hurts. He's a great player. He's got some crappy leadership. He could have said something like that, but you had to bury Hurts.
Yeah, it is odd. It is odd. Mike checking in says he does like that they drafted some captains.
That's a good point. That's Landon Dickerson.
Yep.
That's Landon Dickerson right there. Great point, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, they finally went Alabama, right? They went SEC. I mean, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. So, Mike, you are right. You talk about a lot of young guys on this team, right? We don't know who we have. We have to let it play out. And one thing I will say is they have one of the probably nicest guys you'll ever meet in Brandon Graham on this team. Like, I'll tell you what, I feel bad that I ripped Brandon Graham so much because I met him a few times. He's the nicest dude you ever want to meet.
Why did you rip him?
I was killing him because I thought, like, we drafted this guy again. Remember who did we draft?
We killed him. We killed him early in his career, and it took him forever to blossom. But geez, he's really making up for it now, isn't he?
He is.
Oh, my goodness.
He is.
No, I don't know who.
It was the Earl Thomas effect.
Who was there? We took
Earl Thomas.
Was it Earl Thomas?
Yes.
Earl the Pearl.
All right. So, and remember, everyone's like, "What? How do you do that?" Right? And again, Earl Thomas was tearing it up. Right. So, and we needed a safety, and there, right. So, it just, you're right. He blossomed up, but I'll tell you what, he is a hell of a player.
A hell of a player, man. It's just so easy though to get caught up in this, and I've done it because I'm what you would consider the irrational, emotional fan. I mean, think about it. We're all yelling about the draft. I mean, we yelled about the 2017 draft, and we were right about that one. But we just, dude, we all just yell because we think that we know so much more. And you know what it turns out? I mean, at times we do, and at times we don't. But it just seems like if you were to poll and just pull data away from the fans in Philadelphia, know how to draft a better team than the Eagles front office. I have to say that.
I think so too.
Because the proof is in the numbers. It's in the data, man. It shows that, when you got players that everybody knows that should be drafted, and then they go and they take some other guy that we've never heard about, and it never works out. So I understand why everybody is looking at this draft saying that, you know what, I don't think we got anything. We have one starter. This looks like another disaster. Of course, we're all going to say that, man. We're all going to say that. Yes, I am emotional, David. I am. I'm very, very emotional. Okay? But if you heard part of the show earlier, I'm being a little bit sympathetic for Roseman in the front office because I really feel that they may have hit some diamonds that we're not going to see yet. I do. I do think he did an overall decent job. Okay, and that's just, and you can go back to the Tony comment. A squirrel gets a nut every once in a while, or a broken clock is right twice a day. I get it. Howie Roseman screwed up so many times that the law of averages at some point are going to protect him. He's going to draft somebody good, and he has made some decent draft picks. Okay, so we're expecting him to completely fail. I didn't like it when they drafted all these guys, and I was super emotional. I threw shit across the room, screamed, yelled, cursed, and at the end, I woke up the next day and I said, you know what? Let me just take a real look at this. And I really tried to be objective. And I just think with all of these unknowns, something could really come out of it. It's easy to criticize, but we don't know what we don't have any idea what we have. And that's my take on it.
Well, the one thing I will say before we kind of move on and have some closing remarks here is Joe Douglas. What's that? Stevie Wonder can see the Howie can't draft, and he says, "Oh, poor Stevie. He's even getting Howie has been a Pro Bowler last 6 years."
I know, Rich. I know. Well, Goddard could be a Pro Bowler, maybe.
He could be.
Maybe Boobie Miles might be too.
But I'll tell you what, Joe Douglas looked pretty good in New York. He looked like he was slick, man. And I'll tell you, it starts to make you wonder, Mike. Honestly, it starts to make you wonder. When he was here, everybody says, that was Joe Douglas's draft with Derek Barnett.
Okay, but it's the Jets, and the Jets are cursed. The Jets are cursed. It's always but with the Jets. Remember when they drafted Sam Darnold? Remember Sam Darnold, king. He's gonna be the next.
I still think he's going to
Chad
be a good
Pennington.
quarterback. I don't think Sam Darnold's a bad quarterback.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. I don't think he's a bad quarterback either. But the problem is when they're inside of the Jets building, when they're in the organization, there's something cultural there that just doesn't allow good players to be who they should. And okay, they've switched the staff. I don't know how many times. Yeah, Joe Douglas, he won a Super Bowl. Everybody talked about Joe Douglas. We're going to see whether or not the fruits of Joe Douglas's draft picking and his labor turn out to be something. Probably. Joe Douglas was solid. I'm a Joe Douglas guy. But I'm also, I tend to lean sometimes in the unexplained, right? The holistic approach to drafts. There's something in that building, dude. I don't know what it is, but they are cursed. The last time they made the playoffs, was it Sanchez or was it Chad Pennington?
Oh, Chad Pennington.
Either way, it's a long time ago. Was it the butt fumble?
I think it was the butt fumble.
It was the butt fumble, dude. So that team, man, look, not that we have anything against the Jets. The Jets and the Eagles have always been pretty neutral ground. Jets, Jets. You know, Eagles fans support the Jets because, you know why? Because we swam in the same sewage for so long, okay? Because we sucked. So we sympathize with the Jets. We do.
See now, before we move on.
It's a good point, Mike.
But in that
nobody wants to talk about him.
But that's proven my point, though. Is what I'm saying is I don't think Joe Douglas had any say. I think that was what's showing me the reason why he got the hell out of here was because he got hired here to do a job, but Roseman was still in charge.
Yeah, but he got the title. He wasn't the general manager when he was here. He got the title. Probably got a salary bump too. Don't tell me he had anything to do with drafting Darnell Pumphrey. That guy stunk.
He was terrible.
That was a complete waste of a 4th round pick.
That whole draft was a waste.
It was horrible. He was a 4th round. San Diego State, right?
San Diego State.
Darnell Pumphrey.
You're
talking about a guy that was 170 pounds soaking wet. Please.
So this question for you, Mike. So we got about 10 minutes left on the show.
Oh, let me get on this Gabe Kapler question.
And Adam comes right in. It's funny. Adam must have heard our pregame discussion here, where we were talking a little about Gabe, the anal bleaching specialist himself. But
this idiot, I don't know if you know this or not, Adam, but we just talked about Howard Eskin. I was about to say Howard Stern. We talked about Howard Eskin, and then when Gabe Kapler was hired from the Phillies, he had this blog. And I don't know if it's still up or not, but it was like Gabe's healthy blog or Gabe's eating. You know, the dude's like super into his fitness. He's like a really healthy guy. And he was putting like some recipes and stuff on his blog, but his blog was really weird. And Eskin had brought attention to it. And he said that this guy was talking about coconut oil. And he had this excerpt on there. And if you Google Gabe Kapler coconut oil, I'm sure the blog is still up there because this guy probably doesn't even know how to take it down. But anyway, he was writing on that blog and he was consistently blogging. Well, he was saying that you should use coconut oil for everything. Okay? Now just stop and think for a minute because I know this is a kid's show and I'm not going to be explicit. I'm not going to sound like some friggin' pig, so I'm not going to say what he was saying to do with the coconut oil. But I'm sure anybody that's listening to this can put their imagination together and you can know exactly where I'm going. Well, Eskin was completely pissed. There was that whole thing a few years ago. I don't know if you remember that or not. Tony, when I explained that to you earlier, you didn't even remember. There it is.
Here it is right here, Mike.
Cab Lifestyle. I told you it was still up. Yeah,
check that out.
Do a search on, go to the search bar and put in coconut oil. Let's see if that stupid blog is still up. Put it in the search bar over there, but on the right side under the search bar.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, try to do a search on coconut oil. What the hell are we doing?
Oh no,
it's in there. Here it is.
Revisiting coconut oil.
Yeah. Sorry, it's the one beyond cooking. Yeah,
beyond cooking.
See where it says click more, read more. There it is. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's in there somewhere that you should, what with coconut oil. And Eskin went freaking crazy. You're a manager of a team and you're a role model and you're putting this crap in there. It was a big thing about that. So when he was hired from the Phillies, his name was never Kapler. It was just coconut oil. That was it. We just called him that forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Using coconut oil as a mouthwash?
Yeah, he brushes his teeth with it. Let me see.
Lip balm.
Yeah, let's see. Not that it won't behave as chapstick, but play with it. If it doesn't satisfy, feel free to yell at me in the comments section below. Yeah, it's crazy. It's somewhere in there where he says to do, or maybe he took it out, but oh, there it is. Coconut oil is the world's greatest lubricant. I can't help where your mind goes with this. Once the ball leaves the bat, I can't steer it. Sleep well, Cap.
What?
Oh yeah. Eskin lost his marbles over that. When you brought up
I
Howard
never
Eskin.
seen that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh
There it
my
is.
God.
Yeah.
That dude. Well, let me tell you something.
It's
man.
just coconut oil. That's just his name. That's just it.
You know,
Okay.
and the reason why I bring it up is because Adam asked, what do you guys think of Gabe Kapler so far? First place to Giants. I'll tell you what, I'm actually impressed. I am. And here's why I'm impressed. I think it's because the more I'm impressed, the more I'm disappointed in Joe Girardi. And I think that's why I expected so much more from Joe. Man, Mike, when they hired Joe Girardi, it was like a no-brainer. When that search was going on, Joe Girardi, hands down. Yankees, Marlins, that's who we want, Joe Girardi. I have not seen the same Joe Girardi yet. Maybe one time when he was trying to throw the ump out a couple weeks ago, where Bryce Harper got hit in the face and then Didi got hit in the ribs. That was the old Joe Girardi. But I'll tell you what, the way his decisions have been made on a day-to-day basis, very questionable. I mean, for the love of God, we might as well just have Gabe Kapler here right now. I mean, that's what I feel like. So I'm very surprised at number one, at Joe Girardi, which is maybe more impressed what Gabe Kapler's done in San Francisco. Because I'll ask you, Mike, name a player in the lineup for the San Francisco Giants that's setting the world on fire. Name the ace of their staff.
Good luck.
Right? I mean, here's a name for everybody. Remember the name Evan Longoria? Right? Remember him from Tampa Bay? Well, that's their cleanup hitter. Buster Posey is 40 years old. Right? Brandon Belt can barely hit 190. Right? So you have a team out there in San Francisco that's in first place, led by Kevin Gausman, pitching on a 1-year, $20 million deal, which really looks like they signed guys like Aaron Sanchez on a 1-year deal. They signed a lot of guys in that rotation on 1-year deals that had previous stops to where they were really good. So it's not mainly about Gabe Kapler, Adam. It's mainly about the general manager in San Francisco. They did a really good job assembling his team. And you know what? Maybe Gabe was just misunderstood, Mike. Maybe he was just misunderstood.
Or maybe their pitchers are juicing the ball like Harris in Major League with coconut oil. I don't know,
Rich says he just looks like he doesn't have a fire for the game. Joe looks like he's mailing it in. I kind of agree. I'm really surprised, The other night, I mean, listen, for all intents and purposes, I think Joe needs a little wake-up call and remember that this isn't Mariano Rivera here, and this is Hector Neris. And you throw this guy in to pitch 40 pitches for a 5-out save. Are you kidding me? I could barely sit through 3 outs of Hector Neris in the bottom of the 9th. You're killing me, Joe. Like I don't even know why you think it's a good idea. So there's just certain things that I think have disappointed me with Joe Girardi. And I think there's a lot of games I think he lost for this team. And not to mention, this is not a very good fundamentally baseball team, a fundamentally sound baseball team. It's really
That's
not.
the scary part.
Right?
There's no
And
fundamentals.
you would think that's a Joe Girardi, that's a trademark of Joe Girardi. And it's not happening, Mike.
So they're at the top of the 9th now. It's 6-5. I'm afraid to even look. I don't even want to know what's going on. I don't even want to look. As soon as I see Hector Neris, I just shut it off. I can't get through a game with him without having a panic attack.
You know what's funny? Hector Neris is, and I heard this stat today, and I looked it up to make sure it was legit, but Hector Neris has a 1.80 ERA. So when you look at statistics, he is the perfect guy when you say, it's not all about stats. Because everybody has to remember, he inherits a lot of runners, which means those runners are not charged to Hector Neris.
True.
right?
True,
So let's
true.
not forget about that.
True. So the
Because,
numbers
like
are
you said,
misleading,
Mike,
dude. The numbers are
I
misleading.
can't get through a ninth inning with him.
Can't even watch it. It's
tough.
almost like you just look, yeah, he bailed us out the other night. Fine. He battled his way out, but you don't know what you're going to get when he comes in.
So
I'm sorry. It's too nerve wracking for me to watch
6-5,
that.
Mike, 6-5. Adam says they won. They did win 6-5.
Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't matter. Still, I'm happy. But I feel the same way.
It's weird.
He comes in, man. It's just like, choose seriously. And again, I don't know what options they had in the beginning of the year. There wasn't many. I get it. They were rolling with him, but what were they going to do? But going back to Girardi, the things that he's done, he's made some questionable calls. Okay, quite a bit. He doesn't look like the Joe Girardi that we thought we were going to get. Something's missing, and maybe it was just the strength of those amazing Yankee lineups or whatever, the support system that he had. Maybe it was the managerial support system. Nobody talks about that. I mean, I think that's something that sort of gets forgotten about.
Bench coaches.
You can only be so good, man. You're leading an organization. You can only be so good. You have to have a killer support mechanism around. You got to have really, really good top people. Okay, in order to, because they're the ones that are in, they're the ones that are in the trenches, man. They're helping, they're shouldering that load with you. So if you don't have that, what do you really have? So maybe Girardi really isn't good. He's good, and his support system around him sucks. Who knows? But right now, whatever they're doing isn't working, dude. The whole thing isn't working.
No, it's not. It's
just not working.
They're fluctuating in and out of 500, which is not what they should be right now. They
should be the toughest division in baseball, wasn't
it? And I honestly think it probably is in the sense that
nobody can get it together. The Braves are 13-16, Mets are 11-12, the Nationals are 12-13, the Phillies are 14-15. This is the NL East.
This is the NL East, man.
The Marlins are 12-16.
Think about that.
I mean, this is not the one team has a winning record. It's just bizarre.
It is.
Has that ever even happened before? I don't remember that happening.
I mean, but listen, it sounds like the NFC East.
Yeah, right? The garbage dump of the league.
Yeah.
Not this year, though. Not this year.
No, not this year.
No. We might be the garbage dump.
I don't know.
Look, you know me. I'm very optimistic tonight. Tomorrow night, I can wake up, I can watch this, and I'm going to say, what was I thinking? Stop drinking tequila, you friggin' moron, because they're going to stink again. That's probably going to be what I'm going to say tomorrow. But I really think that division could be very competitive, but I don't think we're going to be there. I think we're going to surprise some people, but I think Dallas is going to be good. I think Washington's going to be good.
I think Washington's the cream of that division.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
They really are. And it's them and Dallas. I mean, Dak comes back healthy and, as long as that's all good, which it probably very well should be. They get the offensive line together and people are healthy. They're going to be a scary team. But let's end on this because we touched on Aaron Rodgers a little bit. But I just want to end on the Aaron Rodgers saga that, comes out of left field. And again, Bradshaw, I'll just say real quick, didn't pull no punches. Basically told him to put his big boy pants on, stop crying. And if you don't want to play, just retire, go play Jeopardy. So Bradshaw was not happy. And you know what?
I think
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Right. Yeah. I was like, all right, dude, it's enough now. Like, so let me ask you this, Mike. He's 38 years old.
Right.
So you're a GM. You go in on Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, well, it depends on what the asking price is.
Right.
He's got 2 solid years left in him that I would bank on for sure. Absolutely.
You got to be there, right?
Yeah.
You got to be a team that's ready.
It's got to be a team that just needs a quarterback. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely, yeah. If I felt like that was the last piece, would I do it? Sure. If I was a GM on a sucky team and I had a chance to sign him to sell some tickets, I might want to do that too. And I don't know if that's the stage of his career. I don't know if he's looking to win or if he just is trying to coast out. The whole problem that I have with it is looking past all of that because I've never been to Green Bay, but what I hear, it's a very small town and the entire town, football is religion to them. It's like one of the last very small towns that an NFL team could be in, and everything is about the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they looked at Brett Favre like the guy was a god, and I just feel that Aaron Rodgers, by saying that, really disrespected the fans of Green Bay. And I know that he's pissed off at the leadership, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do and put the people around him. But sometimes, man, you're thrown into a role. You're thrown into something. And I thought he really showed his character when he did that. I thought it was terrible. I think it was terrible the way that he conducted himself. And I totally agree with Bradshaw. I think it's a disgrace.
I don't get it.
Finish out your career, man. I mean, what are you gonna do? You want to go to a West Coast team? Where do you want to go? You want to go somewhere where you can coast off? You want to go play Mr. Entertainment? Let me tell you something, Aaron Rodgers. You're an amazing, amazing football player. You're amazing, but you suck as a Jeopardy host. I mean, suck. You're terrible. You don't see me go and try to throw a football around. Okay, I wouldn't be able to throw it 5 yards without looking like a complete moron. You
stay in his lane, Mike. Try to tell him to stay in his lane.
Anybody can do anything they want to do. I love the fact that he wants to do different things. Okay, but he needs a lot of practice if he's going to take over for Alex Trebek. Those are big shoes to fill, man. I like the fact that he jumped in there. Okay, but bro, you don't say trade me. Just be like, I'm done with football and just retire. There's a better way to do it, man. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, listen. I agree. I completely get it. I was shocked. They gave him a ton of money. Remember, that was the first thing too. It was about paying him. They paid him. They paid him handsomely.
Of course, right? He's Aaron Rodgers, man.
Right. But what I'm saying is, it's hard for me to sit here and say to myself, what happened to make him this disgruntled? Where they gave him the contract, they brought back, they paid Devontae Adams, they brought back Aaron Jones. They gave him right?
He's got a nice team around him, man. Something happened, some kind of argument, something. Who knows what happened? He could have went in.
Tell me it was because they drafted a quarterback, man.
Come on. Way. And if that's the case, then that's pretty terrible. That's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you just want to hang it up, you want to retire, fine, we get it. Hang it up, retire. There's a right and a wrong way to do things, and then there's that way. And I don't agree.
So let's fast forward. Let's end this here on Crystal Ball. Mikey Googs, week 1. Where's Aaron Rodgers? Is he on the Green Bay Packers?
I think he's on the Green Bay Packers.
Think he's playing Green Bay? I'm gonna listen. This is gonna be a huge wild card here, but I'm gonna say he's going to be a New Orleans Saint, and I think that Sean Payton is going to do everything in his power to bring Aaron Rodgers to New Orleans, and they're a team that are on the cusp with just needing a quarterback because Drew Brees is not there. It's not Jameis Winston, right? It's not. No, I'm sorry, right? It's not Jameis Winston, right? So I fully believe, and the reason why is because that is such a Sean Payton move. I could see my love affair for Sean Payton.
Yeah.
But that's his under the radar move, right? He lost one of the best, and he gains another top notch quarterback.
What do you think it's going to take? What's it going to take?
I don't think it'll take as much as everybody thinks, right? Because this is the scenario you're in. Unfortunately, when your franchise quarterback is disgruntled and doesn't want to play, guess what? Aaron Rodgers actually has some leverage because at the end of the day, he just sits and says, you know what? Screw it. So what? So do you let him basically walk away? Or do you get something for him?
You think he's really going to do that?
Yes. Mike, this guy, remember, this is the guy who sent back, second day aired, all the Christmas presents that his family gave to him and his wife, sent them back without even opening them, basically like as a F you, I want no part of it. This dude's a wild card. He's nuts. I honestly think that, again, I think he is so egotistical that he would definitely sit out and just be done.
That may have had something to do with Olivia Munn and it may had because that was the chick that he was with at the time. It was batshit crazy. And from what I read, and dude, who the hell knows if any of this is true or not? But I think she was pretty heavy in Scientology. And if you know anything about Scientology, Scientology says that if you get somebody that's talking shit in your family or, just being negative about their church or their whatever it is that they, their life, their church, their religion or whatever, Scientology sort of cuts family out. They'll cut anybody out. They'll just completely get rid of you. So I think that may have had something to do with her convincing him to, get rid of his family. And I don't know if he's ever even made amends with his family after they weren't a thing anymore, but it definitely tells you something about the person that could go to an extreme like that. So I would tend to agree with you. It sounds like that he's very stubborn. Once his mind is made up, it seems like it's made up. If anybody goes in a second day air packages back to people on Christmas, I think that tells you a little bit of something about the person, right? I mean, that's really, really out there, bro.
Yeah,
so
he's
maybe he won't go back there, but for whatever reason, I just feel that there's just something bigger than Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, man. It's just, that's like football's a religion out there. I just feel like that something's going to happen. And they're going to figure it out. But would that be a great landing spot for them? For him? Absolutely. Does that make sense? Absolutely. Does it make New Orleans a scary team?
Oof.
Wow. Like, really? That's
Michael
like
Thomas.
Super dangerous to have Kamara and Thomas and Aaron Rodgers.
Are you kidding me?
Just give him the Lombardi. Yeah.
With the offensive genius of Sean Payton,
it would be great to see. As a matter of fact, I hope it happens. That would be awesome for the league.
I'm telling you, that's my prediction. My prediction is he is wearing the black and gold come week one. I think it's inevitable that he gets moved, but I definitely think that he is going to go to the New Orleans Saints.
Well,
listen, hey, we'll see. We'll see.
No more Jeopardy.
No, yeah. But as always, everybody checking in, man. Let me just say thanks for everybody checking in. We're getting a lot of great shows from a lot of people. As always, from Adam, from Rich, from Brian, from Dan. I mean, everybody, tremendous. Rich, as always, always checking in. It would be next to possible.
Maybe.
As with Tom Cruise. But again, listen, it's been great. We're in an hour and 27. Great episode. Again, just breaking down some Eagles things, a little bit of anal bleaching and ball chapping and
coconut oil. You're gonna read that blog after, right? You're gonna read it.
Cap is life.
Totally I love it. It's just messed up.
I love it. I can't believe I missed it. But listen, as always, Heat Ratio Sports, episode 157, not 137, shorten us about 20. But again, up to about 310 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Keep it going. We're getting about a subscriber a day. So be that next one. Continue to check us out. We got a new show starting.
Give us a sub. Give us a sub. Sub.
Yeah, man.
Sub.
Absolutely.
The best way to say thank you to the show is to give us a subscribe. Come on.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's the best way of thanks.
Hit the sub button. Stop. Hit the sub button.
Come on.
Click the damn button. It's so stupid. Click it. I mean, just press a friggin' button. Subscribe. This way you get all of our shit.
Yeah, man. It's not, and again, we just keep adding stuff, man. Like we got a new show starting Sunday. Can't wait. My boy Jay hooking it up, the Sports Skillet, coming in. The boy's been doing the shows for about 8 to 9 years.
Awesome.
I can't wait, man. And again, I'm going to be doing some fantasy work too. On the weekends, I will have Tony Jigsaw Cotillo his own fantasy show every Saturday and Sunday for the Win Daily Sports Gang. So check that out. That's been in the works for about a month now. Just signed a deal a couple days ago. First show will be Saturday morning. So I will be the weekend fantasy guy for Win Daily Sports. So it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Exactly what I wanted. So everybody checking in. We're talking all fantasy football, baseball, basketball, you name it. It's going to be fun. But as always, man, for me, for Mikey Googs, for Coach Dave, for my man John, who will be back very, very soon. As always, for everybody on Heat Ratio Sports, everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Have a great week.